Callie with Adventure Rig, and Tyson and I are getting the motorcycles ready to head down to Central America. One very important yet very simple upgrade we've made are foot pegs. These are the Adventure foot pegs made by Vanasche Motorsports. Also, these foot pegs position you a little bit differently than the stock foot pegs. They position you 3/4 of an inch lower and 5/16 further back from where the stock foot peg sits. I'm going to share with you what we love about the Adventure foot pegs and then run you through a quick install. You can see the main talking point with these foot pegs is just the size over the stock. It's a much wider base for your foot to sit on. Now, when we ride with these stock foot pegs, our feet go numb when we're standing up on those technical rides. They're just not comfortable at all. These are way more comfortable and they provide a much larger base. You can also see that with the Adventure foot peg, the included set screws that are installed, this is going to offer a lot more traction than whatever this stock spikiness is. Another great thing about these set screws is that he provides 10mm length or 12mm length, just whatever your personal preference would be. Speaking of what's provided with this kit, you obviously get both the foot pegs, you get the set screws in both that 10 and 12mm length, as well as 2 fresh cotter pins and the Allen wrench needed to install the set screws. The only thing we supplied was blue Loctite before inserting the screws, which I'll touch on in the install, and a zip tie. Again, I'll touch on that in the install. The Adventure foot pegs are also made with 70/75 high strength aluminum, which should give us years of trouble-free use. I am a little bit hard on my motorcycles though, so if you're interested in how these are holding up, be sure to follow us on Instagram. We'll be giving you guys updates throughout the trip over there. We have these mounted on the 890 and the 790, but these will fit a KTM 690 all the way up to the 1290 in all years, and they will also fit the Husky 701 all years. You can also see that we have these in both the black and the orange version. They're also offered in a blue version. Overall, I think for us, the main takeaway from these are both the positioning on how they sit on the motorcycle and the overall comfort on those long rides of standing up. The traction is also going to be a big deal for us, especially when we get into the NAR. It's nice not to feel like you're going to slip off your foot pegs at all times. Let's go ahead and dive into the install. The first thing that we did was choose our set screw size. We went with a 10mm. We put a dab of blue Loctite in each hole and then tighten down the set screws. Once we have our foot peg set up with the set screws, we're going to move over to the motorcycle. The stock foot peg consists of a pin, a spring, a washer, and a cotter pin. You're going to reuse everything except for the cotter pin. So go ahead and take the cotter pin off, and then you can then push the pin holding the foot peg on out. When you're pushing that pin out, you want to apply a little bit of force to the foot peg and kind of move it back and forth just to make it easy for that pin to slide out. This is probably a good idea to put safety glasses on at this point because that spring could shoot out and hit you in the face, and that would not be good if it went into your eyeball. Now that we have our stock foot peg off, the pin out, the spring in hand, we're gonna put the Adventure foot peg on. The next thing we need to do is we need to compress that spring so we can easily replace it with the Adventure foot peg and that stock pin. What works well for us is to compress the spring with a zip tie. This can be a little bit frustrating, and you probably will go through a couple zip ties. Once you get the zip tie nice and tight on that spring, you can go ahead and fit it all in place. Once you slip that pin in, go ahead and put the washer on and the cotter pin in place, and then you can clip the zip tie at that point and get that out of the way. Make sure you bend your cotter pin, and at that point, you are ready to go. All right, these foot pegs are installed on the 890 and we're ready to go rip. Again, these are the Adventure foot pegs by Vanasche Motorsports. We're going to be doing a ton of motorcycle gear upcoming here, so be sure to subscribe. Also, check us out on Facebook and Instagram at Adventure Rig to follow us along on our adventures. Thanks again for watching. I'm Callie with Adventure Rig.